Donald Trump just threatened to slap tariffs on any country that opposes America's attempt to acquire Greenland. Let that sink in for a moment. The United States, dealing with its highest inflation in decades, a crumbling trade position, and allies who no longer trust Washington, is now threatening economic warfare against NATO partners over an island that's not even for sale. But here's where it gets truly remarkable. While Trump is making these threats, his own Congress is in Copenhagen engaging in shadow diplomacy to reassure Denmark that America can still be trusted. This isn't just embarrassing. This is the financial mechanics of imperial decline playing out in real time. But here's why this matters even more. I'll show you why these threats aren't just empty words. They represent the price America is paying for its weakening power. Stick with me, because what's about to unfold will reveal a financial time bomb you won't want to miss. So what exactly happened? On January 16th, during a White House healthcare event, Trump dropped another bombshell. He suggested once again that he might impose tariffs on countries that don't go along with America's Greenland plans. But here's the kicker. On the same day, a bipartisan delegation of U.S. senators and representatives was in Copenhagen trying to dial things back with Denmark. That's right. America's own government, behind Trump's back, is scrambling to manage the fallout from his own rhetoric. This isn't just a one-off. It's a clear pattern of a superpower losing its grip. The real question here is, how did it come to this? How is it that America's own lawmakers have to step in to fix a diplomatic crisis caused by their own president? Now, let's talk about why these tariff threats aren't just political bluster. They're a sign of something much bigger. During a recent White House speech, Trump said, "I may put a tariff on countries if they don't go along with Greenland because we need Greenland for national security." Notice that? National security? But that's not what the numbers tell us. The U.S. economy is already being pummeled by tariffs. According to the St. Louis Federal Reserve, tariffs contributed to 0.5 percentage points of inflation between June and August of 2025. And that's just the start. Over a year, tariffs accounted for nearly 11% of all U.S. inflation. Let's break that down. More than 1/10 of the price hikes Americans are feeling are directly tied to Trump's trade war. So what happens when you threaten more tariffs, especially when the American economy is already teetering on the edge? Think about it. This isn't just bad for the economy. It's a direct attack on American consumers. And here's what's missing from the story. These tariffs are not just hurting China. They're hurting Americans, and especially those who can least afford it. Now, the situation is about to get even worse. While Trump's rhetoric escalates, the economic damage is already setting in. American businesses, already battered by tariffs, are now feeling the full weight of what happens when these costs finally hit consumers. Here's the thing. For most of 2025, U.S. businesses absorbed about 80% of the tariff costs, trying to keep prices stable. But in 2026, that's about to change. Companies are now passing those costs directly to consumers. Let's put this in perspective. We're talking about businesses that have already drained their inventory stockpiles. They can't keep absorbing these losses forever. That means you, the consumer, will feel the impact in the form of higher prices on everyday goods. Kyle Peacock from Peacock Tariff Consulting put it bluntly, "A lot of our clients really didn't want to pass the cost on, but now they're really having to." That's the moment where things flip, and this could be the breaking point for many households struggling with inflation. The costs are coming, and they're coming fast. But here's the real kicker. While Trump threatens to escalate this trade war, the rest of the world is already moving on. Take China, for example. As America alienates its allies with tariff threats, China is making major inroads with America's neighbors. Just recently, Canada reached a deal with China to cut tariffs on canola. Meanwhile, NATO countries like Denmark are taking steps to protect themselves from American threats. We're not just talking about words here. France, Germany, Sweden, Norway, Finland, and the Netherlands, countries that are supposed to be allies, are deploying troops to Greenland. Think about that. NATO allies are preparing to defend Danish territory from American sanctions. It's hard to imagine a clearer sign of how much trust has eroded between the U.S. and its closest partners. What happens when your own allies are preparing to defend against your actions? It's not just an embarrassment. It's a shift in global power that America might not be able to stop. Now, the cracks in the system are becoming impossible to ignore. It's not just about tariffs anymore. The entire geopolitical landscape is shifting. While Trump's administration continues to escalate tensions, the economic strain is starting to mount. More countries are looking at the writing on the wall and deciding that their future lies elsewhere. Just look at the numbers. According to PIMCO, if the tariffs keep going, America could lose 0.5 percentage points of real GDP growth in 2025. Over the long term, we're talking about a U.S. economy that could be 0.3% smaller every year, equivalent to a loss of $90 billion annually. But here's where it gets even more pressing. U.S. exports are projected to drop by 60% in the long run. That's not just a trade issue. That's a fundamental shift in America's global influence. What happens if this continues? Well, the financial cracks will deepen, and America will find itself not just isolated, but economically weaker. And while this plays out, nations like China are waiting for their moment to fill the void. The chessboard is changing, and Washington is losing its pieces. So what does all this mean for you, the average American? You're already feeling the sting of inflation, and it's only going to get worse. When businesses pass these tariff costs onto consumers, you're the one who will pay the price. In 2026, experts are forecasting that inflation could rise to 2.7%. That's not just a statistic, it's a real hit to your wallet. Durable goods could see a price increase of 4.5%, while everyday items like food and gas might rise by 5.6%. And remember, this isn't just about numbers, it's about the quality of life for millions of families across the U.S. As costs go up, purchasing power goes down. What happens when everyday Americans can't afford the basics? The pressure will be unbearable. And that's before considering the long-term effects on jobs and wages. If this feels familiar to you, drop a comment below. Are you already feeling the impact in your daily life? Here's where things get really unsettling. We're not just talking about bad policy or poor decisions. There's a deeper mechanism at play here, the very system that allows this chaos to happen. What's driving these decisions? It's leverage, spectacle, and fear. In times of economic stress, politicians turn to aggressive rhetoric to distract from the real issues. But here's the truth. These tariffs aren't about national security. They're about showing strength when there's actually nothing left to back it up. It's a desperate move to preserve power, but at the cost of America's credibility. And here's the kicker. It's working for now. When you weaponize trade to try to maintain dominance, you risk losing the very thing you're trying to protect. What we're witnessing isn't just a failed economic strategy, it's the slow unraveling of a global power structure with America at the center of it. So what comes next? Well, there are two potential paths forward, and neither is easy. On one hand, we could see more tariff threats and backdowns, just like we've seen before. Trump has a pattern. He threatens massive tariffs, then quietly backs off when the economic damage becomes undeniable. Just look at how he delayed tariffs on furniture, cabinets, and Italian pasta at the start of 2026. But there's another possibility. The U.S. could double down, more tariffs, more pressure, and the world slowly turning away from American markets. Canada already made a move with China, and other nations are following suit. The real question is, can America continue this economic self-sabotage, or will we finally see a shift in policy? The next move is already taking shape, and it's unclear which direction it will go. But one thing is for sure, the global chessboard is being redrawn. Now let's wrap this all up with one undeniable truth. Greenland isn't about national security. It's about control, about rare earth minerals, shipping routes, and projecting power from a position of weakness. The problem is, everyone sees through it. Even Congress knows it. That's why they're stepping in to do their own foreign policy behind Trump's back. The real story here isn't about Greenland. It's about the collapse of American credibility on the world stage. And when your own government has to go around you to reassure allies, that's when you know the empire isn't just declining. It's fragmenting. We're watching the implosion of a superpower from the inside out. This story isn't over. It's just beginning. If you want to stay ahead of this unfolding crisis, make sure to subscribe and keep up with the analysis. We're just getting started, and there's a lot more to come.